The Miami Heat just suspended Jimmy Butler for 7 games, and this may be the final straw in a situation that has been at a boiling point for months. And if you're new to basketball, you may not know that very frequently we have drama that feels like it came out of an episode of Gossip Girl. All of that comes down to contracts and trades, and also the way that these men are typically using the press to further their own agendas. So today we're going to break down why Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley have been publicly fighting for months, and what exactly this might mean for Jimmy's career and the future of the Miami Heat. In order to understand exactly what happened today, we have to break things down a little bit further back. Number one, Jimmy Butler is one of those players in the NBA who's really stretched outside of the league, and a lot of that comes down to how funny and personable he is. Jimmy has had multiple viral moments that I would say have brought a lot of attention to the league and the team outside of people who actually watch basketball. Most famously, people remember him for showing up to Media Day dressed as an emo pop punk king. And to be honest with you, this is one of my favorite moments in his repertoire as well. If you're new to basketball and you don't know what Media Day is, it's essentially a day where every single player in the NBA shows up and takes their photos and interviews that are going to be used for the rest of the season. So when you see like graphics on social media, like after a game when you see them talking about how many shots a player made or final scores for the game, things like that, any picture that you see of an NBA player throughout the year in sort of like a graphics made way, whether that's league official, so like before the game starts and they're doing the kind of setup, showing you the different players that are going to be starting, showing you players that are out, general things like this, right? All of those photos are taken on one day. That day is called Media Day, and Jimmy Butler has famously shown up to a couple of those in completely joke outfits. Last season he showed up with his hair straightened, eyeliner, piercings, and an understanding that pop punk is not a phase, it is a lifestyle. The year prior he showed up with comically long dreadlocks, and essentially we've seen the league kind of have to make decisions on how long they're going to let the bit run and when they're going to start using pictures from previous years where he didn't pull a joke. On top of his Media Day antics, people know Jimmy for his bubble season coffee brand, where during the NBA bubble season at Disney World, he started charging players and other members of the NBA $20 a cup of coffee, no matter what size you got. He called the coffee brand Big Face Coffee. It went viral. He did some news stories about it. And he actually later even dropped his own coffee brand and built a brick and mortar shop this year. So all of that really is just to say that Jimmy Butler is kind of viewed as this fun-loving, goofy guy. But it's also important to note that he's a really good player, and on top of that, he's a really important and pivotal part of the way the Miami Heat have built their team. And the other major player in this story is Pat Riley. Now, if you haven't been following basketball for a long time, or you just watch the games, or you just follow the players, you may not know how much of a legend Pat Riley is. Pat was actually drafted into the NBA as a player in 1967, and he went 7th overall in the first round. He played in the NBA until 1976, and then after he retired, he found himself coaching. And he was more than a little legendary as a coach. He started as an assistant coach for the Lakers in 1979, and by 1981, he was the head coach of the Lakers. He coached them all the way through 1990, which is a big part of that Showtime era of basketball. That was really the dynasty that existed before Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls became what they became. Pat Riley has 9 NBA championships as a player and as a coach. He won his first as a player in 1972, 1 as an assistant coach in 1980, 5 as a head coach, and 2 as an executive, which is what he is now. Pat Riley is literally referred to as the Godfather, and there's reasons why. Part of that is the way he styles his hair and the big rings that he wears, but most of that is because he is widely regarded as one of the greatest of all time when it comes to being a head coach or an executive. Pat Riley is definitively a part of basketball history. What's important to understand about this drama before we really get into the particulars of what's happened is that on both sides you have these incredibly competitive, incredibly stubborn guys who are incredibly important to the world of basketball as we know it. So it's a little understandable that when you get these passionate people together, they're gonna eventually clash. So now that you know who we're dealing with here, it's also important to understand what's been going on at the Miami Heat before Jimmy got there. The Miami Heat have won 3 NBA championships in the history of the franchise. The first was in 2006 with Pat Riley as head coach and with Shaq and Dwayne Wade playing. That was a huge era in basketball because Shaq had had this big falling out with Kobe at the Lakers, and Dwayne Wade had needed the kind of support that Kobe had from Shaq. Shaq ends up moving to Miami, and under the coaching of Pat Riley, they end up winning a championship together. But after Shaq leaves, we go into a moment of sort of turmoil. Dwayne Wade is back to carrying the team on his own, and we're looking for other players to come in, which is where we have the Big 3 era of LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, who end up winning 2012 and 2013 championships. Then that Big 3 breaks up. LeBron ends up going back to Cleveland and then eventually the Lakers. Chris Bosh heads out as well, and even Dwayne Wade ends up at Chicago. Fast forward to 2019. The Heat have not been winning. They're nowhere near a championship, and they've had a dry spell of about 6 years. That's when they get Jimmy, and he signs a 5-year, multi-million-dollar contract. And the last year in that 5-year contract is this season. Now, Jimmy really does help revitalize the team. They make it to the postseason multiple times, but they cannot win a championship. Jimmy, despite being a great player, often does have issues where he ends up not being able to play with the team for extended periods of time. And when we look at last year's season, that was one of those times. The Heat make the playoffs, but Jimmy doesn't play for the entire first round. They're pitted up against the Boston Boston Celtics, and they lose in 5 games. The Boston Celtics then go on to win the entire championship. And it's a bummer, but it's something that Miami is kind of used to at this point. And so things are kind of fine until May of last year. Jimmy is out and ends up agreeing to be in a video for a social media outlet. It's a very casual thing. And I would say the tone of this was pretty casual and joking. He basically says if he had played in that Celtics series, not only would they have beaten Boston, but they would have gone on to beat the Knicks. The video goes viral. It's kind of funny, but Pat Riley doesn't like it because when you have 9 championship rings and you haven't won one in over a decade, you don't find jokes about losing very funny. So he escalates the situation. And in an official press conference, Pat Riley says, if you're not checked into the game and playing, you should keep your mouth shut. This is where things kind of get a little personal, I think. And again, it's where you start to see that personality clash between the two of them. Pat Riley is very serious. He's very intense. He's really focused on winning and literally nothing else. And Jimmy Butler, I'm not going to say isn't focused on winning, but he also is focused on having a good time, and it's one of the things that he's known for. So yeah, it was a joke and it was funny, but maybe not funny to the guys that are losing with you. And especially not funny when those guys feel like you didn't really contribute anything to the win or the loss. So the line is sort of drawn in the sand. Pat Riley talks about the fact that Jimmy has been inconsistent, that he's missed a ton of games, and that he jokes around too much. And this might be where you expect that Jimmy kind of comes back guns blazing and says something, goes on Instagram Live and says something stupid, but that's really not what happens. Fans like myself are on the edge of our seat waiting to see what happens when it comes to Jimmy's media day antics. Is he going to dye his hair blue? Is he going to dress up like someone else? What kind of stupid, silly behavior does Jimmy have around this time? And the answer ends up being literally nothing. Jimmy shows up looking clean and sharp, and there's not a single joke in sight. He's asked about it in that media cycle, and he basically says, I missed a lot of games last season, and I need to lock in and focus on the game this year. And it kind of seems like, okay, Jimmy's taking these words to heart. He's taking that criticism and saying, I'm going to do better this year. And things to some degree start to kind of level out. But before the season starts, we hear rumors that the Golden State Warriors are interested in receiving Jimmy in a trade. And one other thing happens. Jimmy has an option to extend his contract with the Miami Heat, and he opts not to do so. Once he declines that option to extend, it basically means that he has 1 year left on his contract, which is this season. And things kind of level out for a little bit until kind of around last month. We start seeing all these rumors that Jimmy wants to be traded. And we also start seeing a number of rumors about teams that want him. And then we get into a little bit of trolling on Jimmy's part. Jimmy starts wearing different hair colors to every game. And an eagle-eyed fan points out that basically all of those hair colors, yeah, they correspond with teams that have said they would be interested in having him in a trade. This then blows up because every game he shows up to with a different hair color emboldens fans to say he wants to come to my team. And I want to be clear, he wants to come to the Golden State Warriors, okay? Anyway, you see this kind of blowing up. You see people commenting, analyzing the colors that he's putting in his hair. And finally, someone asks Jimmy about it. And he says, that doesn't have anything to do with it. I just like bright colors. Orange was the brightest color they had. Which, in my opinion, only makes things more intensely scrutinized. Because it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you love bright colors. So you just happen to pick all of these ones that match? And again, this is kind of where I say sports veer into this territory of like extreme fandom behavior. Because the same way you see fandom sort of like heavily investigating every little touch or glance in a TV show, you will see sports fans heavily dig into every single thing said or done by a player like this. We're looking for drama. We want it. We want to see it. And if that means that I have to find it in Jimmy Butler's hair color, I will find it. All of that being said, things come to kind of a head on December 26th, where trade drama rumors have gotten so bad that Pat Riley uses the Miami Heat Twitter account to issue a statement. We usually don't comment on rumors, but all this speculation has become a distraction to the team and is not fair to the players and coaches. Therefore, we will make it clear. We are not trading Jimmy Butler. So this feels like, okay, it's the end of the drama. Nothing else is going to happen. Jimmy doesn't want to be traded, or at least it's understood that he's going to play out through the rest of his contract until we get to this week. On Tuesday during media, Jimmy says he doesn't want to stay in Miami anymore. And on Thursday during press, he says that he's lost his love for basketball, but is open to restoring it wherever that may be. When asked if he thinks he could find it at Miami again, he pretty point blankly says no. And that was pretty much where we had gotten to today. Miami says we're not trading Jimmy. Jimmy says, I do not want to be here anymore. Please, please free me. And at that point, it sort of feels like, okay, we'll probably see them start to entertain trades. What I don't think anybody was expecting was for the Miami Heat to come out and announce that they had suspended Jimmy for 7 games. The official reason given was conduct detrimental to the team. And they essentially said that because Jimmy has made it very clear he doesn't want to be here anymore, we will listen to trade offers. However, they're suspending him for 7 games, basically saying has been detrimental to the overall performance and morale of the team. And on one side, that is true, right? All of the other players are consistently being asked how they feel about the Jimmy situation. All of this is happening very publicly. And in an age where social media is king, we're seeing these players have to deal with it nonstop even after they leave the media room. But on the flip side, suspending him for 7 games is sort of like giving a grown grown man timeout. I don't like how you're talking, and so I'm gonna punish you for it. Technically, nothing Jimmy has done is wrong. And it's a pretty standard thing that happens with players when they want to be traded. You may not like the attitude, you may not like the way they go about it, the way he's been behaving, the way he's been making this public, and the way he's been talking to the press. And technically, a contract is a contract. So the Miami Heat are fully within their rights to make him play through the end of that contract. I'm curious how you guys feel about it, because if you're on Jimmy's side, the point is like, you've been disrespected to some degree. You're not happy in your situation. The team kind of seems like they're not happy with you. And most importantly, you don't believe you can win a championship here. And you're getting to the end of your career. And not only does that mean you're getting to the end of your ability to win a championship, it also means you're losing bargaining power for the teams that you may want to go to. So to some degree, you're going to do everything you can in your power to get out of that situation. But on the flip side, if you're the Miami Heat and you're Pat Riley, you're paying this guy millions of dollars because you believed he would be the star you could build your team around. You believed he was the star that could bring you back to a winning era. And after you've kind of been disappointed in the relationship overall, you get knocked out of the playoffs in the first round. Your star player who sat out that round is out kind of making jokes about losing. So let me know how you feel, because I kind of find myself going back and forth. Pat Riley is a legend who knows how to win, and he's desperately trying to get the Miami Heat back there. But Jimmy Butler also deserves to kind of be comfortable and happy where he plays. And I think Pat Riley did cross some lines in some of the things that he said about him. So let me know how you feel about this situation in the comments. And of course, feel free to subscribe. I'm always going to be breaking down sports in an understandable and fun way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.